What is up, metal and heavy music fans? It's time for Trench Talk, and I am your host, Flight of Icarus with MetalTrenches.com, and today I've got an interview with Petri of Ensiferum, classic, legendary, really, folk metal band, preparing for their new album release, Thalassic. But before I get into that, if you really enjoy hearing interviews with these really talented musicians and bands and discussions of metal-related topics, then be sure to subscribe to this podcast. You can do that on YouTube, iTunes, CastBox, Spotify, and BitChute, but regardless of which platform you subscribe on, also subscribe to the YouTube channel because there is lots of other content going on there in terms of video reviews, tier lists, album discussions, retrospectives, you name it, we got it. If you're into underground metal, please do subscribe. But that out of the way, let's get into the episode.
This is Petri Lindros from Ensiferum.
Let's just start with the basics. How are you doing? What have you been up to?
Doing good. Yeah, doing good. Hanging at home, very much, mostly. Yeah, getting really fucking bored at home. You know, it could be better.
Yeah.
This weekend would be the first festival show scheduled for us this summer, but instead I'm here talking with you right now.
Well, I'm sorry for that. Definitely not as exciting.
What can you do? What can you do? Yeah.
Yeah. Are you somebody who definitely prefers to be on tour and on the road?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be going for all the bands, you know.
Yeah, for sure. It's a bummer. I would think, especially with a band like yours too, where it's so driven kind of by the whole stage and live performance, that it's a little bit different to have an album coming out and not be able to support it right now.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of tricky situation.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just apply to Ensiferum but for basically all the bands around the world at the moment. So
yeah, for sure.
It's a weird time.
Yeah. Well, hopefully things will turn around in the not too distant future, because I know everybody I know is ready to get back out there and see some shows and get some music.
This summer holiday has been long enough already.
Yeah, for sure. And summer's not even truly started yet, so
yeah,
interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the new album. I've had a chance to listen to it quite a few times now, and I think my first reaction is it's a very different album. This is definitely something I have not really heard from you guys before, having, followed you all for a pretty long time now, listened to all the albums. I own several of them, and this one stands out. So tell me a little bit about what was the thought process going into this one?
Well, first of all, we got a new member in the band, Pekka Montin.
Yeah, your new keyboardist.
Vocals and keyboard. Yeah. So first of all, he's basically the first real singer in the band now, since none of us is a real lead vocalist. But this man certainly has the skill level to pull that shit off. So we decided to also use this man for this album, and that brings a whole lot of new stuff for Ensiferum for this album especially.
Yeah. How did you get connected with him? What led up to deciding to bring this whole new element into the band to begin with?
Well, it started a couple of years ago when our accordion player, Netta Skog, left the band, and we started to look for a keyboard player, and we already knew at that point that we also want to have a very good, clean vocalist who can do lead parts, so that was one of the requirements for it, and then this guy showed up, and we were pretty much sold at that point.
Yeah. Well, and his vocals are, I compared them to Blind Guardian, much more of a direct power metal approach this time around.
His voice is very power metal-ish, yes. And he can pull that stuff off very, very well. So, what can we do? He sounds like power.
How do you think the fans are going to react to this? Because, again, it's definitely a shift.
Yeah. Well, we in the band don't consider it that much like a power metal thing, but of course, when you have this kind of vocalist in a band, it kind of automatically starts to sound like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, Ensiferum is not a power metal band. We can agree on that one.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But, yeah. Well, power metal was not our main point on this one, but I gotta say, it tends to sound like that one, but it wasn't intentional that much.
Well, what's it like too to, with him, it seems like he carries a lot of the vocals on this album in general, so that sort of frees you up to focus more on guitar and other things. So was that kind of a different experience, and how did that affect the writing of this album?
Yeah, it's the vocal stuff is pretty much split between me and Becca on this album, but also, well, the structures of the songs are more compact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, so overall lengths of the songs are very much shorter than they used to be. But yeah, I think that one was the focus point also when writing these songs. We didn't want to fill the songs with too many parts, so keeping them more compact, maybe listener friendly. Also, hopefully we can reach a little bit wider audience with this album. And well, yeah, we put a lot of stuff on Pekka's shoulders on this one, and he pulled it off really, really good.
Yeah, and he does have a fantastic voice. And I'm glad you bring up the more compact nature of the songs, because I definitely noticed that. I recently went back and I re-listened to all of the albums in a row, basically in one day, and that stood out to me as, most of the other albums are, around an hour, and this one clocks in, if you cut off the bonus track, it's about 45 minutes or so, which is pretty nice, kind of concise runtime, which I appreciate. Like, I kind of like things when they're focused. And it was interesting to sort of walk through all the albums in that way, because from the early ones to the later ones, you see this trajectory of kind of songs getting longer and more epic and more symphonic and kind of more boisterous, so to speak. I remember I spoke with Sammy at one of your shows in Portland. I guess that was last year, and he was talking about how, or maybe it was 2 years ago. I'm losing track now. But in any case,
yeah, me too. Yeah.
They all run together now. But in any case, he was talking about how the transition from One Man Army to Two Paths was one of kind of like simplifying, using less tracking and layering, and just sort of getting a little bit more back to basics. And it feels like this album kind of does that too, while also, though, incorporating all these new kind of vocal elements and just overall different approach.
Yeah.
So have you got any like particular favorite songs that you are excited to play live once things open up again?
Well, like pretty much every time a new album comes out, I gotta say all of them. So we get some new blood on stage in the form of songs, and the new member also kicked out to the wider audiences. Well, of course, the first single what came out, the Rum, Women, and Victory, that's a pretty good,
solid one.
Yeah, I think that one will be a very kick-ass track to open a show. But also there's a lot of other ones too. Kind of hard to say yet, but also Andromeda, that one is a good one. Fun one to play too. Yeah.
I'm partial to Run from the Crushing Tide. That's definitely one of my favorites on here.
I think that is very much the most power metal track on this album.
Yeah, which is interesting because I'm not really that into power metal, but like there's certain elements on here that just come together, sort of the magic happens.
Yeah, yeah.
It just works. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the concept to this album, because I noticed it's also more focused on kind of like sea mythology, it looks like.
Yeah, and the name Thalassic came up from our bass player Sami. He figured that one out. Well, it's like something to relate it to sea if you actually look it up what it means, because it kind of in a way doesn't mean anything. But except that it relates to sea and water, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very. I had a hard time to approach that one because it doesn't actually, pinpoint to something certain in any way.
Hmm.
But in a way, it leaves a lot of doors wide open for that
Yeah.
one. And the ocean was the theme for this one. Well, Sami is responsible for all the lyrics, so kind of hard to say what's actually going on inside his head from time to time.
He seems
But
like an interesting guy too. I don't know if anyone
yeah,
can tell what's going on inside his head.
yeah, exactly. He is like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was also digging out a lot of like historical events and different mythologies related to ocean and water, and then putting them fitting to Ensiferum style music. And I think he did a wonderful job with that one.
Yeah. No, always. Like I'm always impressed. And I also like the kind of shifting themes cuz like how many I mean I was going to say how many songs can you make about the Viking horde like storming a village or something, but I guess you could make quite a few of them. So there's that.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it's nice to also see kind of some diversity in the lyrical direction and sort of different
yeah.
creatures and things like that. Well, what else are you looking forward to? You got any new like things on the horizon in terms of like music videos or Q and
Yeah, we were
A's?
yeah, we were actually shooting the new video 1 week ago. So that one is coming out a couple of weeks before the album is released on July 10th.
Okay.
So right now it's on the editing board. So the guys are working on that one. So that's gonna be happening. Well, but otherwise, we're also planning for a stream show. Hopefully, we can get some info about that one out kind of soon-ish. Also, uh, well, that's pretty much it so far because we can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So we're basically stuck at home. We've been going to the rehearsal place a couple of times. We had a spring cleaning operation over there. You would be amazed what kind of shit you can find
Oh,
in
I
the
believe
rehearsal
it.
room of a band.
Any particular things that stood out?
um, let's say the amount of unused, weird-looking cables that you can dig out from all the boxes and behind the couch and you name it is just amazing.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, man. You sound so bummed. Like I feel bad, and this has been a trend too with just other bands I've been talking to. Is just the overall morale just feels kind of low because people want to be out there. People want to be touring on their music.
Yeah. I think if this would have came along like October, November, when winter is falling on top of you,
Mm-hmm.
people might feel a lot better to just stay home. But now it's right here on the late spring, early summer right now.
Yeah.
Our work is basically starting this weekend, but not. We had 16 festival shows canceled for this summer.
Mm.
So, and that's a huge, huge hole in our income also.
Yeah.
So it's gonna get tricky in a couple of months.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would really love to be on a plane flying to a show right now. I would
Yeah.
literally give anything.
Yeah. What was one of your favorite shows from the last tour? You got any stories that stood out to you?
Um, the last tour what we did was actually in the States,
Mm-hmm.
and well, over there we had to cancel the one show in where was it? Oakland, California. We were coming from Canada, and we got stuck in the snowstorm.
Oh no.
So they closed the highway down, so we could not make it to the
Mm.
show at all. And we were stuck in this gas station, 7-Eleven, some Motel 6 complex. It had a McDonald's and Burger King in there. So we were there like over 24 hours. And it was called Weed, California. That place actually exists. I have honk if you love weed sticker on my fridge from that night. It
That's
was
great.
that rememberable place
Mm-hmm.
to hang out for that one. So I got myself a souvenir. I think I actually bought also weed T-shirt from the gas station.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Seems appropriate for California.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, what about the shows that didn't get canceled? Were there any particular places you enjoyed the most?
Uh, Basically all of them. Since live show is a live show, you never actually know beforehand how it goes. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you got a plan, but saying what they say, like the first contact with the enemy, the plan is shot to shit.
Yeah.
So that basically happens also on a show, you know. But every time going on stage, it's fun one way or another, and we love them all.
Yeah, it seems like you guys have a really good time. Like, I gotta say, I'm impressed too, given the fact that, I mean, Ensiferum's been around for, God, 2 decades basically, and
Yeah,
so to see you all anytime, honestly, I see a band that's been around that long and can still just kill it at the show, and it just feels genuine. And I kind of laugh too because at base you're a bunch of guys up there in war paint and costuming and everything, and I think some people would be like, I'm getting too old for this shit, to quote Lethal Weapon, but
yeah,
it seems
yeah.
like you
You
guys
know,
still enjoy it.
yeah. It's well, playing live is our passion. You know, we
Yeah.
take pride what we do, and we always aim to kick as much ass on stage as we just can.
Yeah.
So we don't go there to do a halfway job. You know,
No, yeah. I when I
if you
saw
start if you start feeling like that one, I think that's the point when you should stay home.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like
Yeah,
I think there's nothing more depressing than a band that's past their prime, that it just no longer has their heart in it but continues
yeah,
to tour. Like I want no part of that. It's just a bummer to go out and see that. But yeah,
yeah,
when I saw you all live, I had a blast, and I was particularly happy that you played Two of Spades, because I think of the newer stuff, that's one of quickly become one of my all time favorites. It's just such a bizarre song and such a fun
yes,
time
it
to
is.
listen to.
Yeah, yeah. It's a fun one. It's
Yeah.
like this punk rock and roll with the disco in between.
Yeah, and then weird like spaghetti western vibes kind of mixed in there too, in a
Yeah,
strange
that
way.
too. Yeah, yeah. We got them all.
Well, I know that's going back to like earlier material, but I have always been kind of curious, like where did that song come from? Because it just definitely stands out, particularly on that album, as just being something completely different.
Um, how the hell did that one came up? I remember the startup melody on that one. There is one, well, not similar type of Finnish traditional melody existing, but Markus wanted to do something similar to that one, and then he was almost there, and we gave a couple of hints, and there it was, the starting melody for the song, and we were like, yeah, that's it. And then we wanted to do something cool in the middle, and on Stone Cold Metal we had the very Western
Yeah.
uh, part, and thought like something similar to that one, and then somebody came up with the disco, and we're like, why the fuck not? I think that could work, and
And it
it
did.
did work.
It
Yeah, yeah,
did. It's great. That's
yeah,
easily my favorite song on that album. So much fun.
yeah.
Well, given that you are at home and everything, what do you do with your time? Like, is there anything that you are otherwise passionate about? Movies, Netflix, TV shows. I don't know what's going on.
uh I've been playing quite a bit of guitar at home, since
Hmm.
now I actually have time to do that one instead of traveling around the place and just sit in airplanes and vans and stuff. And also, I got my Xbox One hooked up.
Oh, nice.
That's been very busy. Also, well, checking out TV series on Netflix and Prime Video.
Any well, first of all, let's start with the games. What games are you playing right now?
Right now, I'm playing Ghost Recon Breakpoint.
Okay. I haven't played that
Yeah,
one. I've got an Xbox too, but I just
yeah.
haven't. I don't have as much time to, even with everything that's going on. I've got kids, so I don't have as much time to play it. The last one I played was Borderlands 3, but
All right.
that was a good time.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a
And
good game. Good game though.
yeah. And then in terms of series, any ones that stood out to you that you really enjoyed watching?
Um, I was just recently finishing with the Kingdom. I think the last Kingdom
Okay.
or Kingdom. Season 4 came to an interesting end. Maybe a season 5 coming up.
Yeah.
And I also checked out the Ozark.
Oh, that's one
Yeah,
of my favorites. That was
yeah.
great.
I checked out the latest season in like 2 nights, and
Nice.
can't wait for the next season to come.
It keeps you on the edge of your seat, man. That is such a tense
It really
show.
does. Yeah, yeah,
I will say it's kind of like it reminds me a lot of Breaking Bad, but even
yeah,
like I would say even darker though. Like there's some stuff that happens in that show that I was like haunted by.
yeah. It's very. It feels very very real what
Yeah.
these are doing on the Ozark. It's very cool series. I like it.
Yeah. Well, it's been interesting too to see uh Bateman go from comedy with like Arrested Development to this very serious show, and I think he writes and directs it too, so pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah,
Well, it almost seems like a required question, but did you watch Tiger King?
I have not
Oh my
checked that one
god.
out.
You have to. Like it's the most outrageous thing I think I've ever watched in my life, and
Okay.
I could not, like, you watch one episode and you're like, okay, I'm in. This is some crazy
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. Anything else that you're doing while you're at home? I mean, and actually, better yet, uh, I know some bands are doing like live streaming stuff and things of that nature. Have there been any talks of going in that direction?
Yes, there has and is. We're just working on it, so hopefully we can get news out from that one
Mm-hmm.
basically as soon as possible. So there is a live stream coming up.
Cool.
So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, to me, like, that's the one silver lining I'm seeing is that while it's not the same as like being there in person, especially with a show like yours, I feel like most people kind of live online now anyways, so you can reach a pretty broad spectrum of people by kind of embracing that the best you can. But
hmm
we'd all, of course, much rather be huddled together with our beers and feeling the heat from the lights and sweat flying off the stage and all that.
yeah,
So you can't recapture that on your cell phone.
hmm absolutely.
Yeah. When you're in your downtime, do you I feel like I talk to kind of 50-50 with artists about this, where some, when they're in their downtime, they kind of avoid listening to other metal artists because they don't want it to necessarily influence their own stuff, and then I know other people that just like listen to tons and tons of other bands. So what category do you fall into?
Um, I listen to music from pretty much from side to side right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some
Any
days metal and some days is John Johnson from '80s.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So kind of right now it doesn't pretty much matter that much. Of course, when then getting back on the road and playing heavy metal yourself all night, you might not want to put some Morbid Angel on your headphones when you go to sleep, unless that's your thing.
Yeah. It might be.
Yeah.
Any particular new albums, particularly in metal, that you've heard that you really enjoyed from other bands?
Um, I gotta mention the Brazilian girl band Nervosa.
Hmm. I haven't heard of
Yeah,
them. I'll have to
they
check
were
them out.
playing a show in Helsinki right before this Corona shit hit the fan, and I managed to see their show, and it was really fucking good show. And I also got their latest vinyl from that one, and it's a really fucking good album.
Yeah. All right, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
You've named something I have not heard of, and
yeah.
that's something. And then another question I always like to ask people when they come on this podcast, given that we are kind of focused on underground musicians, is there a band besides that one out there that you feel like makes incredible metal music and deserves more attention than they're getting?
That's a tough one. Uh, I gotta say, I haven't been checking out like some underground scenes that much, basically ever. So I really have no clue
Okay.
for that one.
You gotta subscribe to the channel then, man.
Yeah, I think I do. I think I
Yeah.
do.
But I mean, you've got the time. I will recommend to you then, if you like listening to other folk metal bands, there is an Italian band that just dropped an album called the band's called Blodiga Skald, and
Hmm.
they are really out there. If you like, they remind me a lot of Equilibrium in a way, in the fact that they're kind of like have a sense of humor and they're a little goofy, but um, yeah, they're really entertaining and off the wall. Like speaking of throwing disco into your songs, they have a song where there's like a whole like circus element that shows up in the middle of it, and it's crazy. And
No,
they have a music video for one of their songs up too, and it's pretty silly. They all have weird costumes too. They're all dressed kind of differently. Like one's a pirate, one's got like a shell on his face. Like I don't know, it's weird, but they make really good music.
all right, cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I know you might have you got another interview to go into after this one.
I got actually 9 of them tonight.
Oh my
You are my
goodness.
first. Yeah,
Well, I'm honored to be the first one then. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, I will respect your time then. And any closing thoughts or shout outs or where people should follow you and check out the album?
Uh, Check out Ensiferum on Facebook, online everywhere, and there's gonna be some cool information news coming out hopefully very soon. And keep your eyes and ears out for the new album, July 10th, The Thalassic, coming out.
All right, man. Well, stay strong and don't let it get to you too much. My dad always says this too shall pass, and I think this will as well. We just don't know exactly when.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it will take a little while, but we'll be back to
yeah,
normal in no time. And everybody stay safe and take care.
yep. You too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, man.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
And that'll do it for this episode of Trench Talk. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, as always, for listening. And once more, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Again, you can do that on iTunes, CastBox, YouTube, BitChute, and Spotify. And again, regardless of which one of those you prefer to consume your podcast on, also subscribe to our YouTube channel because there are lots of videos there. You can also check down the description. You can find links to all of our social media, the email newsletter that I send out personally every Friday, and also if you really want to jump on the supporter wagon, we have a Patreon and Subscribe Star. Even just $1 a month makes a huge difference in helping me cover my overhead costs and sustain this the time that I put into this, because it does take up quite a bit of it. And ultimately, though, I just enjoy it. This is all about getting word of these musicians out there, talking to interesting people, making sure people are aware of new music that's coming out, especially more from the underground that you might otherwise miss. And it's just something I feel passionately about. If you're still listening, if you made it this far, I think another plea I want to make too is I'm really focusing my attention right now on kind of how to grow our social media presence and translate that into more people doing things like subscribing to the channel, checking out the website and everything. And with all the changes that have happened with the algorithms on things like Facebook, I've had to really kind of start learning new strategies. And so you're going to see shifts in how I approach that. By the time this airs, actually, you'll have already seen a lot of that. The thing is, what gets prioritized on Facebook, and if you think of it from like a business standpoint, it makes sense. They want to prioritize stuff that keeps you on Facebook because they want you on their platform. So if I post a link that takes you off Facebook, they're going to deprioritize that because they don't want you to leave. So what I'm doing is I'm shifting more to a strategy of posting images, posting memes related to the reviews and interviews that are going on, and especially posting like videos and doing brief live streams on these platforms because that ultimately gets a lot more reach. And that's important because, again, my goal is to get the word out about these bands and albums to as many people as possible. So I need that reach. And the other thing you can do to help with that is engage, because what happens is if Facebook shares that out and nobody likes it, nobody comments on it, then Facebook goes, okay, nobody's interested, and it sort of suppresses it and prioritizes other stuff. Whereas if people are hitting the like button, commenting on it, same with on YouTube. If you're liking the video, you're commenting on the video, doing the same with this podcast, then YouTube, Facebook, whatever says, oh, people are interested in it. And then it sort of tests the waters with other people who maybe haven't even liked the page or haven't liked the channel, and it recommends it to them. And that's just another opportunity for more people to experience this music, the interviews, the roundups, all that stuff, and get these bands the attention that I feel they deserve. So please do engage with the content. Watch it, listen to it, press the like button, drop a comment, even if it's just a short little one. It really makes a huge difference, more so even than doing, I would even say, direct support on like Patreon and Subscribestar, because this is like allowing the channel to grow, and that's ultimately what I want to do. So I think that's enough talking about that, but I really would appreciate it. But as always, again, just the main thing is thank you for listening, and especially those of you who made it all the way to the end here. And please do support these artists, because especially right now, it's been really sad to talk to them and just hear the depression. Like there's just this like depressive fugue going on, and I hate to see it because these people are so talented and they deserve better, and it's just out of their control at the moment. But if you all can at least, buy merch, buy the albums, and watch the streams and whatever, support them in any way that you can right now, because they really need it. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.